Welcome back to Freedom Algo. So today I'm going to show you a really amazing strategy for scalping futures. This works on all futures markets. It works on the ES, the NQ, crude oil. It works on other markets too, like Forex and whatnot. But this is specifically showing the ES 2000 tick futures chart and how you could have got some really great trades today. And early on, you could have been done pretty early today based on some of these trade setups. But there also were some opportunities for some nice runners. So you can see here that we kind of had a spike in channel, possibly a wider channel that broke and made a new high, and then eventually we started this big bearish trend, and now we're kind of way down here where the market has just kind of overshot the bottom of this channel. So the challenge here when you have one of these is that typically on an overshoot, it reverses and goes the other direction. So if it doesn't reverse aggressively, then it is possible that there's a wider channel in play that's something more like this. It seems a little bit funky if that is the case. I'm going to draw it down just to show it, because you can see that the midline does fit pretty decently there. And so we'll see if it comes into play or if this was a true overshoot, which it doesn't seem like it's playing out like one. It is going higher after the overshoot, but we just kind of have to monitor it and see where it actually goes. Also, earlier there was a downtrend with a break here, but it just wasn't that convincing. So I redrew it just in case there was a wider trend in play, and I think there was. I'm going to leave it there just for the purposes of the video anyway. So early on, coming in, you had this spike and possible channel. I was playing this originally as a spike in channel, but there was a possible wider channel here, so I did draw both. And basically the way I saw this was from this low here, you have a first entry, second entry short that fails. And this one, it goes one tick below that red bar and immediately reverses. So you'd enter this one on the engulfing bar. So basically you put your stop market order right here, one tick above that red bar, and you let it fill you as it comes up. That's how I would have traded that one, because this is almost a full red solid bar. You can trade that on the engulfing bar. So you enter there, and that makes it less risky because you're pretty close to the highs. But it's a pretty safe trade, and it basically never even backs up. It just immediately fills you, and eventually this thing just closes and pushes up and gives you your scalp really quickly. You don't get a runner, and you're not looking for one there. It's just a trap. So then after that, you have a pullback first entry, pullback second entry long. This was a really nice trade. It does gap over, so you might have to enter this one on a limit order if it didn't fill you, because as soon as this closes, this one opens and starts going up. So you might not have gotten filled right away, but it does come back and give you a chance to get in there. And I think for me, what I ended up doing was, because it didn't break that high, so you can see 29.50, this bar only went up to like 31. So it hadn't gone that far. So when it came back here, I actually entered a limit order like somewhere in here, got filled, and then was able to kind of ride that up. So that was a nice easy trade. And the thing is, if the spike in channel was in play, then it is the case that it was still within the channel. If it was a break, you're still looking for a new high. So you got to close outside and you're looking for a new high. So either way, it gets you where you're thinking bullish there. Now it comes down, and you get one more chance here, because at this point you had your move to a new high from this other channel, but you are thinking there could be a second leg up, and also this is the first break of the actual spike in channel. And what you get here is basically the exact same setup repeats. So you get a pullback first entry, pullback second entry long. I like this one because it's a second entry long, it's a higher low, similar to that one, and it's a really small bar. It's only a 5-tick bar, so pretty much really low risk. Unfortunately, because of how it moved, you would have gotten filled. You get filled here and you don't get a runner, because this candle comes back and stops out all the runners, and then it goes up. So you probably don't get a runner on that one. I didn't. I just got a scalp. And then following this move, what you end up getting here is, now this is a riskier one. I marked it green. But because you had your breaks and your moves to a new high, what you get here is a double bottom, and you get a move to a new high here, first entry, second entry short. So there is a second entry short here. It fails for a second and then reverses. And so you could kind of see this as a possible couple legs up to a new high, and then it just got quickly sideways and it started to dry up. And this looks like a rejection candle to me. The way that it kind of broke up and immediately reversed and closed right here, it was kind of like a rejection candle. So if you took that short, that's where you'd want to be aggressive, far away from the EMA. You kind of already made your swings. You're kind of off in no man's land up here, like the recent highs. You're pretty far away from the recent highs. So to me, that if you're going to be aggressive, that's probably a place to do it, but it is risky. So then it comes down, kind of goes sideways here. I don't really see any good trade setups. Like I was hoping that this one right here, this green bar, would have been a little bit more bearish, but it just wasn't. So you kind of just have to let it go. At this point, you draw your trend channel down off of these highs and then off the lows because you do have this big breakout. And from this breakout here, this was probably my favorite trade of the day, which was we came down, we get a close outside and a new low. And if you count from this high right here, this is actually a first entry, second entry long. You can't enter this on the engulfing bar. It does break lower and come up, but there's too much stem here, so you can't enter this on the engulfing bar. You have to wait for it to close, and then it becomes a pretty big bar. It's 14 ticks. So the way I entered this one, because it broke above this already, and it basically already is a second entry, what I did was you could go long one tick above the bar. You could do that. What I actually did was I let it open and break up, and I dropped a limit order like somewhere around here. I think I got filled like one tick below the close, like somewhere like right here. So I got a little bit of a better entry there, dropping a limit order. Now sometimes it runs away without you if you do that. But I just thought that it was safer so that I could have room to this high right here. And so that was a nice one because since I dropped the order back here, when the next candle opened, it was able to fill my order, and then I was able to catch a little bit of a runner. I mean, you're not getting super far, but just taking it to the EMA. So that was a nice one. I really did like that trade. And then after that, I was pretty much thinking bearish only because it broke out and it didn't make a new high. It made an equal high and then close outside all at once, but it never really came back. And so you can see here, it eventually does come over to here. This is all sideways stuff. I don't like anything in there. It's just too sideways to take a trade. But from this low, you now have your new low in place here, and you can say first entry, second entry short. Unfortunately, this is just a doji. I really wish that this bar, it's only 5 ticks, so I marked it. If this was just slightly more bearish, I would have loved taking this short. So it just ended up being a doji, though, so unfortunately, that's what it is. But it was a nice trade because it's off the key entry point, and then it comes down, and you do get a lower high here, and it's also a trap because it breaks higher and closes lower than this whole bar. It's an engulfing bar trap. So basically people tried to get long there, and then when it goes below this bar, it just traps everybody. So you wait for it to close, though. You don't enter this on the engulfing bar. You wait for it to close, enter here, and you get a nice short. So both of those are nice trades. This one, they both get you a runner as well, so you get some nice runners there. Then it goes down. This nothing really good in here. You're just in this downtrend, and again, that's the close. But then you come down. You do get this trade here. This is a little bit more advanced, but this is kind of like a larger second entry short. But really, the problem is it's actually a first entry pullback, second entry. And then this kind of comes back. It's sort of like a count reset because this low did go lower than this one. So it's sort of like a double bottom and a first entry, but in a larger context, it's actually a first entry, second entry short, kind of like a larger swing. And I just thought that was a nice one. It's close to the highs here. It's very bearish movement today, so I just think if you took that one, it's fine. It's just not perfect, and the signal bar is not perfect either. Comes down. Close outside, new low. And then what you end up getting here is where it breaks out of this channel. But again, it's not very convincing because it immediately reverses. Like you don't even get really an attempt higher. I was hoping we would get a second entry short here, but you just don't. It just goes up and immediately reverses. So you can't really trade this one, unfortunately. And I eventually did make the secondary trend line just in case. Now off this high, you do get a trap here where it comes up and gives you a first entry, second entry long that fails below this bar. And so the way that you could trade this one, it's a first entry second entry short below this bar too. It's a little more advanced again, not perfect. It's a little sideways here. If you didn't have this inside bar, I would have said this was a way better trade. I actually had my order just waiting, and we got this inside bar. Then I actually canceled. I was pretty much already good on my trades for the day, so I didn't take this. I canceled my trade even though it ended up working out. But I left it marked as an aggressive trade. I just didn't like it when this inside bar formed because then it was looking like consolidation to me. So I stayed out. Similarly right here, you actually get a really nice second entry short here that's kind of like a trap because it breaks higher and then reverses. The problem is it's just very sideways here. I even drew the range just to illustrate that. So again, this was another one where I went back and forth on even if I should mark it. You kind of have this possible support here, but it is closing at the low of the range. It's possible that this is not a real range, and it is really close to the top of the trend line. If it tapped the trend line, then I would have said, yeah, just take that all day. Okay, so actually, you know what? Let's go back and move this back to where it was so we can see if this is an actual overshoot. So I had it basically like right there. So then we come down, we break out of this thing, and unfortunately you just don't really get a trade set up here. There's a strong trend, but the only good signal bars would have you shorting right into the lows, so I didn't like anything in there. I was hoping for a setup down here, but we just didn't get one. Then we get this overshoot. And I do think actually this is looking like an overshoot to me because you can see here that the way that this is playing out now is the way that you'd expect an overshoot to play out, where it just goes right to it starts going pretty much towards the other side of the channel. It starts a new uptrend. So you can see here there's not really much setups up here. There is a really sneaky trade here, which is a first entry, and then it pulls back and gives you a second entry below this all in one bar. But it's really a sketch setup. I mean, if you took that, I'm going to mark it. It's a seriously advanced trap. It's not a perfect signal bar and whatnot, but if you saw that trap forming, which I did, but again, I was done trading and I was doing the video at this point, or starting the video. But yeah, there is a trade there. Not perfect either. So a lot of the perfect and ideal setups came earlier. So then also in the context here, you kind of have a larger first entry, second entry failure there, and you can see the reversal kind of happening. I wouldn't take this trade, but there is a possibility there. And you can see we are coming up, we are coming up towards the top of this channel here. So it's possible that we actually overshoot the channel now because we had an overshoot on the bottom side. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we're coming up towards that 6,000 level. So it's always hard to say what it's going to do there, but I think that's pretty much it for the day. So what you can see here is that you have these really nice trades, you know, and every single one of these trades, you put your stop loss one tick above or below the signal bar, depending on which way you're entering, and you get some really easy scalps today. These are all winning trades. I didn't really see very many like trap type trades today. Yesterday I had a lot more traps than today, but that's it for the day. And I hope everybody had a good trading day, and I'll be back tomorrow.